What if I was to tell you that the biggest check you write every month isn't for your mortgage, but for your kid's travel team? Today we're going to talk about one of the most expensive, emotional, and time-consuming things, travel ball.
Yeah, and is it actually helping you better your kids toward a scholarship, or is it just chasing an illusion with burning your hole in your wallet and your weekends?
Seriously, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Hey, welcome back. Again, this is a podcast series, Buy Your Kids a House, and I'm Matt Garlick, and this is Andrew Higgins. And in this series, we'd like to go over the money mindset of what it takes for our future finances and the ability to budget and plan ahead and create that plan for long-term goals of what it takes to raise ourselves, our kids, and our financial success in the future.
And whether it be soccer, softball, baseball, volleyball, eventually there's the pressure to have to go travel. And sooner than later, it catches up to every family. So we're going to ask the hard question, is it worth it? Is it worth your time, financial responsibilities, and the pressures of that, and then emotional as well?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and cover all that.
Let's go over it.
Yeah. So first off, we're going to go over a little bit of kind of overview of what travel ball is. I know a lot of people on here might be here for the first time hearing, what is travel ball? And they're thinking like, I haven't even heard that term before.
Yeah.
A lot of us, I know back in our day, we were used to just basically little league in the area, little rec teams. Maybe if you're good enough, you got an all-star team that traveled a little bit. But now it's grown to this huge industry. And what used to be tournaments once a year, maybe twice a year for those all-star tournaments, now it's turned into a weekend event. And that's really where we are at today, and everything was kind of growing into this whole industry that we now know as travel ball, which starts off with the idea of like, okay, my kids get to play more, but now you're having to buy all the equipment, the time, and everything goes involved with that. And that's where kind of dive in a little bit of what I'm involved with that.
No, exactly. And according to some statistics, it's $3,000 to $10,000 a year per child for travel ball now.
Yeah,
That's blows my mind in itself, just going from like what it was when we were kids to what it is today. And that doesn't even include the hitting costs too, like the extra gear, the missing out on work, the hotel stays, and also the spontaneous dinners at the end of the game.
yeah, and then one thing those that are in the travel industry know, I'm going to say the word gate fees, so that's the shiver down everyone's spine for that. You're like, I paid all this money to go to this thing. Now you're going to charge me $10, $15, $20 a person just to watch my kid play?
Right.
And they do. Then that adds up real quick. Mm-hmm. And then that doesn't go into also the time balance of this too, because in essence now, like it used to be this tournaments once or twice a year. Now are every weekend occurrence. They're the whole weekend. You're having to travel to and from those tournaments. You're having multiple practices a week. What used to be maybe one practice a week now is turning into 2, 3, 4, even 5 practices a week leading up to these. And then you're also taking into all the other times of pitching lessons, hitting lessons, all the other auxiliary things you're trying to add on to it to make sure your kid has the best success. So now your schedule now is your team schedule. So that's where we're at now. Now we're going to go into even further of that.
I was going to say, there's so many more layers to go over. Let's do it.
Yeah. So now we're going to dive into the cost breakdown and how this falls into your 50, 30, 20 budget that we've covered before. Now, I know a lot of times travel ball can seem very important, but this does fall into the 30 category, into the wants category.
Right.
And so with that, we got to look into that category with an optional mind, and it's not necessarily a financial need. So with that, you have your team fees that can be anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 per season. I've seen some exceed $10,000. Uniforms and equipment, $500 to $1,000. Travel and lodging, $2,000 to $5,000. Private lessons, $50 to $100 per hour. And then there's tournament weekends. It could easily be $400 to $600 between gas, food, and hotel.
Yeah, you could easily hit $8,000 to $10,000 per kid per year. That's more than most people put in the 401k.
Seriously, and if you have multiple kids in sports, that 30% wants might seem almost like it's 50%.
Jeez.
But again, when we say it falls into that 30 category, even though it's $8,000 to $10,000, we're saying that's $10,000 means that fits into the 30 category, meaning you need to earn $30,000 in order to afford this element of travel ball, and that's per kid. And that's not including any other wants, not other vacations, travel, dining, fun, annual passes. That is just to afford the aspect of travel ball.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with investing in your kids' passion, but it has to fit within the plan. You can't be putting yourself into debt. It has to be within that 30. And if it's not working out, maybe look at different options.
Yeah, and that's where rec ball and things can come in as well. And there's solid options in rec ball, but again, we want to make sure you're able to afford this aspect because we don't want you to go to more debt and things just for kids sports.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that kind of covers the aspect of the shocking value of what the costs are.
I was going to say, mine's already blown. All right, let's get into a little bit more of the details of it and whether or not it's actually worth it.
Yeah. So let's be honest, one of the main areas why people justify the use of going into travel ball is the idea of earning a college scholarship. They're thinking they have to get their kids more reps, more exposure, more time in the field and everything, that they're going to get more of a likelihood of earning that big D1 scholarship.
Yeah, but statistically, only about 2% actually get that athletic scholarship out of high school. And a lot of those are only partial.
Yeah. So you can spend $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over the course of your kid playing in travel ball for maybe a $10,000 scholarship.
Yeah.
When instead you could have been putting that money into a 529 plan, had a much bigger impact for their actual college setting up for success.
No, exactly. And if you're looking at it as a whole package, doing all of this as far as building life skills like teamwork, responsibility, time management, all of those things, if you're looking at it as a whole package, it might be worth it. But if you're only looking at it to chase that $10,000 scholarship, like you said, spending $40,000 to get that $10,000 may not be the option.
Yeah. Plus, also the last aspect with scholarships is you're also limited to who actually offers it to you. Your kid might want to go to a different school. They may be pursuing a different major, but you're limited to what schools are offering the scholarship, and that really narrows the field. Where with investing in a thing like a 529 plan, you are much more broad of where you can pick to go for. So again, give your kids more options, more opportunities versus maybe the 1, 2, or 3 places that maybe offers a partial scholarship. I don't think that's the route really to go to. If they get a scholarship, great, but look at it as a supplement to the college journey, and only if it fits their future needs, which may not be even sports related. So if it fits their needs and fits in there, scholarships are fantastic, but don't let that be the focal point of why they're playing any sport, let alone travel ball.
Like typically, like you said, the 529 is a better option to invest in overall.
Yeah, much better. And again, the flexibility, the tax benefits, all those things. We haven't even gone to what the time value money. As I mentioned, you're spending $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 into it.
Yeah.
That's not including the interest lost over those 10, 15 years of them playing the sport. So that spending that $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 plus interest could easily be $100,000 plus that could have been in their 529 plan. Now you're really seeing the trade-off of $10,000 versus $100,000. So again, all the other aspects of the learning, the teamwork, the experience, the memories, fantastic things. But let that be the reason. Don't let it be for chasing the scholarships. Whether it's D1, 2, or 3, wherever they end up at.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now we're going to another aspect, the mental aspect.
Yeah.
The time, effort, and potentially even the burnout of going into travel ball and beyond. Like there's aspects of when you're going into, you have practices, multiple days, 3, 4, 5 days a week. Plus the idea of the extra auxiliary lessons if you're needing, pitching lessons, hitting lessons on the side. If you're soccer, goalie lessons. And the idea of also trying to cram that all in while also still maintaining your normal schedule, your schoolwork, your homework, and also then grinding every weekend's a tournament and everything. Instead of having games here and there, you're just constantly going. Another thing that's rising in Florida alone is also the specialization of these academies. There are places like basically in essence like private schools that you go to, that in the daytime you're doing online virtual school, and then the whole rest of the day is your practices and grinding and everything. So,
and the research backs that up as well. Early specialization can actually increase the risk of injury and decrease the overall athleticism as well. And it shows the kids that have multiple sports that they're doing continually develop a higher athletic IQ.
Yeah. And again, with that, you end up having the aspect where people are hitting that burnout because now it's a grind. They're seeing now that every weekend is more like a business trip rather than the fun. They lose that passion for the sport, where they used to be just something fun to play with their friends and enjoy it. And you have, I know when we were growing up, we had more of the seasonality of sports. Like you had maybe, baseball in the spring and basketball in the fall, and you had, football in the fall too, where things could fit in, and you could do all those different sports throughout the year and, take time off, and you're not having those overuse injuries too and everything. Like if someone's pitching and you're just constantly burning out that elbow, hello Tommy John surgery and everything. So like you sometimes need that time to heal from these different impacts of the sports too. But now businesses want to specialize so much into this, it turns into a year-round thing because in essence, they're the business of it. They know they've got you captured and they want the money. So they don't want you to experiment around with other sports because maybe your kid decides, Maybe I don't like softball as much. Maybe I do like volleyball more, or maybe it's basketball or swimming or tennis or whatever. They don't want to lose you from that because you're a money source for them. So now they've expanded these seasons out and made them year round, nonstop. But then they pull you into that trap.
Oh no, exactly. And with all of those different contributing factors as well, you have to ask: are we doing it for ourselves or for the kids?
Seriously. So this is a little bit part where we kind of dive into a little bit of a tough topic to talk about and everything. That's the ego element of this. Right. A lot of times, maybe people aren't trying to get that scholarship. Maybe they aren't trying to have their kid experience sport, but maybe it's more so they're trying to relive their childhood memories, or maybe they're hearing their friends and family and other neighbors nearby that are in these elite, great programs, and you can't help but have the desire to want your kids to succeed that way as well.
Right.
So sometimes you kind of stretch yourself a little bit to maybe push to get to that point because you want to keep up with the Joneses with them. Like, you wanted them to have where they're playing for travel ball or playing up. Like, those are the travel ball world here. Like, oh, my kid's playing up a level or they're playing up an age. And, like if my neighbor's kid's doing it, then my kid should be doing it. So then you have that tough balance of like wanting what's best for your kid when really what's best for your kid may not be the route you're going with that.
Well, no, exactly. And it's all about being pressured too. You have that element of like, I feel like I'm forced into doing this, of keeping up with the Joneses as well. But if you're putting yourself and extending yourself too far, it may not be right for your family.
Yeah. And a lot of times also as a parent, it can be tough when you're sitting there. And I know a lot of times you hear, you may be chasing your childhood dreams. And I know sometimes it's hard to have that internal check of maybe I wasn't the best athlete myself when I was a kid, and you're trying to have your kid fulfill those dreams. And you want to put that in the back burner. I know a lot of times you'll hear coaches and things say they can almost tell from parents how far they succeeded in their athletic career, because usually the further they exceed in their athletic career, they're usually the more chill parents. It's the ones that didn't succeed in an athletic career. Those are the ones that are more vocal and pushing for their kids. In essence, basically try to get them past the plateau that they reached.
Right.
And I understand that might be a want that you have, but forcing your childhood memories onto your child might not be the best route we want to go in this.
Generational trauma. Yeah. We got to break that somehow.
Emotional damage. So with that, what's best for them may not be this entirely.
Right.
And sometimes you have to ask yourself the tough question is, if this sport wasn't travel, would our kids still want to play it? Are they playing with friends and people that they enjoy? Is the environment that they're in building them up, or is it a toxic environment? And pushing through those barriers just because you want it to be, or want it to be more than what it is.
And looking at the status. Yeah. So like the rec ball, if that, the kids wanting to do just that and hang out with their friends and, like we were talking about, build those life skills as well. Rec ball is a great way to eliminate that $10,000 that you don't have to spend, up to $10,000, or more sometimes per kid per year.
Yeah.
So saving that money and seeing them happy should be the goal.
I mean, that number one thing for kids, especially 12 and younger, is developing a love for the sport, whatever it is, or for multiple sports, or trying out things. 12 and below, we shouldn't be specializing kids at 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12.
No.
Like, now's the time to experiment around. Like, because also your kid, especially, is growing at such a rapid rate. Like, someone at age 10 that you feel is giant might be at their plateau where they're going to be at. I'll fully admit, I'm 5'9". I was 5'8" in 8th grade, and I thought I was going to be a beast, and I just stopped. So, again, kids have these different growth spurts, and their development's different through all these years. And some people think they're like, oh man, I've got this diamond in the rough kid. Well, all of a sudden now they stop growing, or someone else has a growth spurt and everything. Now all of a sudden they're looking up to the other kids. So have these kids try different things out, find out whether they like, other sports or activities, or dance and cheer. We haven't even really gotten to all those elements, but finding, testing the waters of all these things and finding friends along the way. And rec ball and things offer a lot of those great opportunities without spending the amount of money and going and all that. So that's definitely, especially 12 and below, like I think, steering clear of some of the super specialization is the way to go. 12 and above, maybe you start to focus because you're getting close to your high school career. And by then you've kind of figured out, like, I didn't like this or I like that, and maybe I'll give that on the side if there's time to fit it in. So you're developing your personality a little bit more at that.
I was gonna say, at that stage, you've already kind of developed into your likes and dislikes and things like that, and what you do love and what you don't love. In having that development time I feel would be super important too. Also give them the freedom, not just pigeonhole them like you were talking about. Like, oh, your parent wants to keep up with everyone, so it's like you have to do this one thing and get perfect at it.
Yeah.
I know that happens quite a bit, but giving them that space to be able to decide what they want, they're also going to push themselves further because it's something they want to.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, the number one thing to take away from this, and this can be a very difficult thing to do, is checking your ego at the door.
Yeah.
We need to do what's best for the kids, not necessarily what our friends and family and neighbors will think of them, not what our childhood experience was. We want what their experience is going to be. And we're building their character and their emotions and their memories and everything, and not necessarily what ours were, or trying to fix what we missed out on, or undo the emotional damage that we had in the past and everything,
Right.
and putting those pressures on them. And anytime anyone's been at these sporting events, you hear the parents yelling from the stands, like those are the ones that are trying to maybe push those things on a little bit too much. So again, with that, do what's best for the kid, and take a hard look in the mirror and check those emotions at the door, and maybe push out and block out some of what the friends and family and neighbors are saying and everything, and focus on what's right for your kid at that time and that age.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think for the most part, that kind of wraps up the idea of travel ball. And we're not saying the travel ball is good or bad. We're just saying it's expensive. And because it's expensive, that makes it a choice. And the choice has to be up to you whether or not that fits your budget and your family needs at this point.
Well, yeah. And I mean, if you can afford it and your kid truly loves it, go for it. There's no judgment if you have that extra money or you don't. But if it is adding debt, stress, and you're just completely miserable, rec ball is definitely still a fantastic option, and it does still count. You still get those skills and you still get the experiences.
Yeah. And again, if college scholarships are the main focal point of this, please don't let that be the point. I think definitely open a 529 plan and have that flexibility for the future is a much, much better option than having sports be the end-all be-all goal for our kids to get those college scholarships.
Well, no, exactly. Invest into the kids, not necessarily just the next weekend. Also, we would love to hear how much you've spent on travel ball. We know there's some crazy numbers out there, and if you're like deep in it and that's your life, tell us about it. We love to hear your experiences as well.
Yeah. And also, if you know other parents, I have tons of friends and family that are struggling with this same concept of, should I specialize? Should I go travel ball? What element of travel ball, like what type of situation should I be in? Please share this video with them, because this might help them in that decision, because it's not an easy decision.
No.
And it helps them look at it, see if it's right fit for their family at this point in time. And overall, if you like the content that we're providing, please like, share, subscribe, help us grow. We're a newer growing channel, so help us out here, and hopefully you'll see us along this journey along the road. So until next time.
All right.
Thank you.